Hello friends and welcome to another art critique session, this time for the month of September. I am late once again because look at me, I can't even shave correctly because I have so much work to do. I'm currently sitting on a couple of commissions and they're piling up a little bit because I have some days off in October as well, so it's all a little bit packed for me right now. So sorry for the little delay, but here we go again today, as always, I would say, with my two ongoing apprentices, Sirius and Dan. So guys, thanks very much for once again another month of supporting me, and I'm going to support you back with a nice art critique now. And before we start, as always, of course, just a reminder to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because it is very, very much appreciated if you do. I'm still a young YouTuber, not young of age, but not doing this for a long time. And my goal is to reach 1,000 subscribers till the end of the year. And I would be super happy if I can just get that goal. And if you are interested in an art critique yourself, if you are an aspiring artist and would love to get some feedback by me and some specific advice, remember to check out my Patreon and become a member of the Art Critique Club. There's the links below as well, so check that out. And now let's go serious. Let's have a look at what you got this month. So you sent me your collection, your art collection you're working on right now. What's the name? I'm, as always, perfectly prepared. Electric Hobos, yes, that's the name. So, and yeah, I would say the name is very well chosen because these indeed look like electric hobos. I'm going to show you show you guys all the artworks I've seen so far, which are these three here, these three hobos. And you sent me not only the question about like how to improve them visually and in style, but also you want to know how to drop these as an NFT collection, which is very, very good question. Very, very intense and deep topic, because yeah, you can just really talk about this whole drop mechanical drop strategy thing for days. I'm going to try to include this into my 10 plus X minutes review, because I want to give you probably some initial thoughts and some quick feedback. And if you feel like you would like to discuss something further of what I said, we can just pick that up later. But maybe I can give you some kick off some thoughts with my critique today. But first of all, let's probably have a look at the visual topic to kind of get that tick that box first, because you were asking me that you love the direction. Yes, I love it as well. It's very nice, and you want to use lots of colors, but together with a very detailed line art, it gets pretty dirty. Yeah, I know what you mean. I would probably call it busy instead of dirty, because I think dirty is describing these illustrations very well, because they are they are hobos, right? So they are kind of messed up, and these details, you use the details in your work, in this case, to display a certain ruggedness and things like that. So I would say it's busy, and it's a bit too busy. I agree to you, especially later to this one and this one. I think this one here is working better because the contrasts are a bit cleaner. And let's focus on the third one. I think you wanted to focus on the third one anyway. So that's the one issue you have. And what I can say to this is you're absolutely right. This can be improved very much, I think. And there's two factors or two things coming together here, obviously, which is the outlines and the colors. And I think I have a piece of advice for both of these parts for you that you could improve, because first of all, the outlines, I love that you use a very, very thin brush and that you have these itsy bitsy small itchy details in there. So if we look at this part here, all these little small lines here, they give this rugged character of this figure, and I think it's great how you kind of create texture through these details here, and how you give the clothing and the suit that this character is wearing a certain certain texture, you know. This is great. But I think it's always working best if you either, so this is kind of a two-direction thing, if you either work like here in this area here with very clear lines. Let me pick the red one so I can, oops, so you see that, what I do here. So here, this part here works great, this overlay works great. Let's see, so wherever you have like more clean lines, this part here, probably, and wherever you go into this very, very messed up direction, for example, this area here, the structure of the whole suit gets lost a little bit, and the viewer doesn't really know what's going on there, what's happening there. Here as well, a little bit this area here. And sometimes you have these black or these thicker lines here, this, and I think it makes this a little bit more. It creates, or it's a factor of creating this unclean style, and I would say get rid of these here and really try to make it super clean, and try to limit the areas where you have too much of these little whole scraps, and really try to focus on clear lines, or go with more of these dark areas, but make them clearer and larger. So it's both strategies to make your drawing more understandable and to create less confusion. But I think both leads you to the right result, but you have to choose which way you want to go. I can very much appreciate drawings that have no black fills, and no hatching, but only really kind of this lean clear thing. That I appreciate that very much. But you can also go this direction and create more dark areas where no light, which have seen no light ever on this suit. So instead of this hatching here, for example, go for full black and only kind of hatch a little bit here and there, probably, if you can't get rid of it completely. So I hope you know what that means, or what I mean by that. And you see that the whole very, very detailed thing will benefit from this, even though you're actually losing details in this case. Second part, I'm trying to make that real quick, is because it's something I already told you. So please listen to me in my critiques and do what I tell you. No, just kidding. But I've seen this before with your drawings, and here I see it again. Try to be more brave with the colors inside these areas here. So you have, for example, you have this green, you have this blue, you have this some little bit of red and pink. Use these in a better or higher range to create structure. So for example, if you have this blue, try using a higher range of this blue when it comes to brightness. I know that, you have here this black area. I'm not a big fan of these here, actually. These watercolor, multiplied watercolor things in black. Not the watercolor itself, but the that you have gray or some kind of light gray thing multiplied here. I would try to make this to give this a bit more color, so not gray, but bluish gray or something. And you can use this. I mean, you already do this, but you just have to keep up being more brave about this. You have these wrinkles in the suit here, and so and you're already trying to show that there's these wrinkles, but you can do so even more by giving it a higher range of brightness in the colors. So that's that. Another 10 minutes are already almost over, but I will just have a little overtime because you're such a loyal supporter. And talk about the NFT drop a little bit. So what I would do, or what I would suggest always for anyone who wants to drop a collection right now, is use, instead of a platform, this is for Ethereum actually. I don't know if you want to drop these on Ethereum or on Solana. I know that you have been dropping stuff on Solana as well, right? So for Ethereum drops, I would definitely use Manifold. So I would really advise anyone starting a collection, use Manifold or any other contract builder, but Manifold is very has very high standing throughout the collector scene, and drop them on a platform you want. But I wouldn't. I mean, I'm dropping on Super Rare and I'm giving them 15% of my sales for dropping there, but Super Rare has quite a high ranking in terms of platforms. But when we come to Foundation or Rarible, I mean, no one is talking about Rarible anymore, but all the other platforms, they take like 5%, 10% of your sales, and they basically do not really do a thing for you. So my advice is really set up an OpenSea page, or if you want, do it over Foundation, but use Manifold. And then I think you want to do them one of what, right? That's a good decision, or a good way to do it. So that was just the advice on the platform thing. If you want to do it on Solana, so in my experience, or what I see is that form function and exchange are both very good. Let me just quickly have a look if you told me something about this. But yeah, you didn't give me any info on that. Okay, no problem. And maybe consider making them making like a range of editions. So you could probably have one of one and two multi editions, for example. But that's just an idea. So I did that with my Singing Dwarfs, and it went really well. And I think one reason why it went so well is that I addressed multiple levels of collectors. So there were collectors who were able to spend 30, 40, 50 Solana for one of one, and I also had collectors who are rather spending 3 Solana for an edition. So that's something that you could consider, but I can absolutely understand if you're no fan of making these editions, because there is a certain cool vibe to a whole one-of-one collection, I think that there is definitely a good reason to keep them one-of-one. And you could even say that these characters are so unique and so special that they are that they deserve to be one-of-ones, because they are so each so different on the and so unique on their own, that probably would make sense to have only one of each. One thing I see here is that's a question from me to you, is if you want to keep this layout, this design for the images you mint, or what the idea of minting would be. Because what I don't like here is that if that's not your plan, just ignore. But I don't like that you only have like the real illustration taking 1/3 of the whole image. And I think you can absolutely go for something like this here, like a title, but I would try to come up with a way to make it to make it fill the space a little bit more. It's not so easy because this is heavily vertical, but maybe you'll find an idea. Maybe you can add an element here in the background, like, I don't know, a circle, or another one has some kind of just some background element that makes it seem to look bigger, but in fact it isn't. So you can place it much better in a square ratio. But that's just something that came to my mind. If you have planned this in a certain way, then that's fine. Of course, feel free to ask me about that if you're about to mint them. So yeah, that was probably no advice on what to do directly, but more an opinion. And the opinion included that I like all of it. But what you see here is that there is absolutely no right or wrong. So if anyone in the NFT space wants to tell you, do this and please don't do that, just ignore them, because self-claimed experts are just not existing. There's no one an expert. And for a new collection, there's always the risk. That's the risk we have to take as artists, that one way works better than the other, but you don't know which one, and probably you pick the wrong one. That's just what can happen. And there I can only encourage to experiment a lot. For example, with Curious Cabins, I was very, very successful with one-of-ones, but still I want to know what happens if I drop multi-editions, if I change certain mechanics in the drop. Like, I mean, I know that you know what's going on right now with Curious Cabins, so what I'm doing there. Things like that are, for me, ways to explore and experiment certain ways of doing this and doing drops and organizing things. And that's what I would advise you here as well. The artworks are great. I would love that in my collection. Actually, I'll probably place a bid when they're up. And I think, yeah, you're on a good way here. Very unique art, and that's the most important thing. And the rest is just a little bit of luck that the right people see your drop and know about your drop, right? And then it's not even that important if it's a one-of-one or multi-edition. So, but we can discuss that further on Discord. That's just my my thoughts on this and my kind of how I feel about this possible drop. I hope this still helped you, and I'm looking forward to more hobos because they're really nice. And as you know, I love everything that has a lot of details and it looks fun and unique. So yeah, that definitely ticks a couple of boxes with me. Okay guys, let's head over to Dan. So here we go with Dan showing us a nice frog carrying something into a forest of mushrooms. Well, that's nice. I love mushrooms, so always love seeing them, especially if they're that huge and making up for a forest or something. Very nice. So you wrote that you are still practicing drawing without or painting without outlines, and you didn't go crazy with the composition because you didn't want to overwhelm yourself. Okay, that makes sense. One step after the other, definitely a good mindset. And you want to know some weak spots, possible weak spots for the next steps. Okay, cool. And it was a Draw This in Your Style challenge. Very nice. By Matt, Mr. Matt, which is, I just wanted to show you. Here he is. There it is. This nice frog with a little mushroom on his head, and he has some kind of box with him. Probably he's collecting the mushrooms. Yeah, Matt is a fantastic artist, by the way. And go all follow him, please, because he's nice and he's also doing great stuff. So yeah, very cool. For this occasion, I can also quickly mention that it's a fantastic idea to draw this in your style challenges. I'm very, very sad that they're not that popular anymore. At least it seems like that, because it's perfect practice for your art journey. It's just, there's nothing better, because you're studying artists that you love, you're studying their work intensely, and you're recreating something with their kind of using their creative power, which is amazing. So good choice doing this. Let's head over to your piece here. So I think what I see is that you're not using any outlines here, so I don't see any, at least not really. I mean, there's probably here, oops. There is probably this one here can be considered a little bit of an outline, but not really. So I'm not counting that as an outline. So yeah, well, first of all, congrats for not using them anymore, if that's your goal, because I know that it can be very hard to make the step over from outlines to no outlines. And what I see here is that I have the feeling that you're still a little bit trying to color the way you did with outlines and also shade the way you did with outlines. And in my opinion, this is, first of all, it's difficult, and second, it's not creating such perfect results. So what do I mean by this is that you have, for example, if we take this mushroom here, you have very flat structure here. There's a little gradient here going from there to there, so from bright to dark, which is perfectly fine, because the light source is coming from here, so it can get a bit darker here in these areas. But I would say that it's still very, very flat, so very, very flat coloring, and here as well. And then you have these rim lights here, and this kind of coloring and shading and setting lights reminds me very much of how you would do it if you would fill outlines, right? But you're not doing this anymore, and this makes the whole structure, the whole texture of this mushroom look very, very flat. So as an advice here on this part, I would try to bring more structure into these areas with a more painterly approach, you know? So with any kind of brush that you like to use for painting, try to give it some structure. So this is try to create structure and texture within these areas. So we have this flat area of the mushroom sitting there, and we want to give it a nice texture, so it becomes more lively. You can also work with reflections here. As always, you know, I'm not the big painter, but just giving you some examples here. So as always, just doing this super rough. You can also pick up some colors from the red cap here. By the way, I think it could be much huger here, the cap going over here, so it looks maybe more impressive and more three-dimensional, but that's just a quick idea. And you can also pick this color and add it here a little bit to kind of create a connection between these areas here and the rest of the mushroom. And you see that it becomes more vibrant and it becomes more alive, you know, and you already do that very much in the grass here. I had that in the last, or the piece before that you sent me, where I already mentioned that you did very well with texturing the grass. So I would just pick that technique and try to intensify it for the other areas in your piece. The stones look really nice, so probably some reflections of the light here on top of them. Maybe some sprinkles of water hit them or so, you know, and then it becomes much more interesting looking as well. So that's the first thing that comes to my mind here, that you definitely can improve. What you're doing really great is, and I think you improved on that very much in the last month, is how you use the foreground elements to give the whole scene a frame. And this is also really working really well here, because you use it for environmental storytelling, because the guy here is walking into this direction and into this kind of mushroom forest, and you're using the foreground here to create a dark, maybe a little bit intimidating atmosphere. And you see the guy like going in there, and you don't know what's happening, and it's telling a story, and I like that very much. There's even more, because you have these hills here going up in this direction, so you also show not only that it's getting like darker and more dense, the vegetation, but you're also showing that he's probably going to have to enter a mountain or hill area where he has to climb up somewhere. And I pretty much believe that the frog is going into an adventure or something, and that's very well done. So the environmental storytelling is something you're doing very, very good here. Apart from that, yeah, it's probably a couple of small compositional things. You mentioned that you didn't pay attention to the composition that much, and that's absolutely fine. But still, I'm trying to give you some advice on that still, because I think can't be mentioned enough. But I think it has this very, very layered structure again that you used before, and I'm pretty sure you're absolutely aware of that. But you have this very 2D video game side scroll thing here. So you have this layer here, then you have the hills here, and the foreground, and that's once again this 3-step or this 3-part divided composition that makes it look a little bit dull probably. So yeah, just as an additional advice for you. But of course you're totally aware of the fact that this is probably the next step to improve. And what I would do to practice this way and this technique of shading and finding the right style of painting is I would maybe make a little excursion into drawing or painting objects or little closed scenes instead of environmental scenes. I know that you're a storyteller, you like to paint and draw environments and backgrounds, totally fine. But if you look at Matt's frog here again, now he's gone again. So this is a very closed scene that has no background, it's just the character and a couple of objects. If I were you, I would go and practice some of these arrangements for a while, because it is much easier to learn the painting basics. for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's just easier and more like overseeable what you're doing. And second, it's you have no environmental light. So here you have light coming from the sky. So if you paint something, you have to take into account that there's reflections from the sky. Here on the water, we had that last time, I believe, with the reflections. You have reflections reflecting back on other objects again. So I mean, it depends on how realistic you want to go there, and obviously you're not in for total realism, but it's very, very challenging. And I would, I mean, you could just pick a couple of mushrooms and make an arrangement of mushrooms somewhere. Just I don't know, just draw some mushrooms in a basket or something, and it's much easier for you to learn. And I think it's I mean, I don't have the impression that you're a very easy to frustrate guy. So here's a basket of mushrooms. Very beautiful one. I don't have the impression that you're a guy who's easily frustrated, so you seem to be pretty hardworking and determined. But still, this would be helpful to avoid certain roadblocks, you know. So yeah, that's what I would do next until the next critique. Okay, yeah, so that's it for today. Thanks again, guys, and I hope you have something to do and you will get to work and create beautiful stuff. That was the art critique for September. Thanks, Dan and Sirius, for submitting your work. We see each other again in the October critique, this time probably within October and not in November, but we'll see. I will be having some holidays late October, so let's see if that works. Thanks for watching, everyone who enjoyed to have a look at how I gave the other guys some feedback, and I hope you took away something for yourself as well. If you want to join my critique, and if you want to see your work here in this video roasted positively by me, please check out Patreon and jump on board, come into the club. We'd love to have you. I wish you good day. See you soon on Discord, Instagram, Twitter, wherever. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye bye.